Hello everyone, this is Robert, team captain of Copperhead. I know that's a little bit confusing since I'm wearing my Minotaur shirt, but that is just to pay a little homage to the OG drum spinner Minotaur. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about our fight in the round of 32 against Lucky, and thankfully this video is available on YouTube, so you can go ahead and watch that and then come back and we'll talk about the fight. So let's see, what do we want to talk about first? I know that there's a lot of controversy about this fight not being aired on Discovery, and I really don't have anything to add to that, and I really don't want to get into the drama, and I don't want to make this channel all about, drama and reactions to anything, so I'm not really going to talk about that much. All I know is that, we did film it like a normal episode. We had, the intro, we had the interview afterwards. We had no idea when we were doing the filming, and we just found out, later on in the production cycle of everything, that it was going to be a YouTube exclusive. I am of the mindset of many other people. I think it absolutely should have and could have been in the episode, but hey, it's a TV show. It's always a TV show. They don't tell me how to build bots, and I don't tell them how to edit their show, so that's all I will say about that. So of course, like all these videos, there will be spoilers, so please go and watch the video. You have absolutely no excuse. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can go watch the fight on YouTube as well. For the Lucky match, this was honestly a bit of a lucky matchup for us. Lucky uses this kind of punching, lifting mechanism. It's a 4-bar linkage to where it kind of punches and pushes forward, but not really so much up. So it really doesn't give you a ton of lift. It's not really as much of a lifter launcher as it is kind of a puncher pusher. And for us, that's, really not a big deal. We're invertible. We don't really like being upside down, but it's really not that big of a deal. So the idea here was, as long as the drum is facing them, they probably didn't want to punch directly into the drum. So you can see in the video, they absolutely avoided doing that. So really, the strategy, there wasn't any strategy. It was just my typical driving strategy, which is get really, really close. I like to just kind of drive within a very small circle of the other bot. I don't like to be too far away from them. I like to just kind of be really annoying and stay really, really close. And you can see this with the Fusion match as well. You can kind of see this with the Gruff match. Was the very first time I ever drove Copperhead, and all of my fights with Crippling Depression. I just like being very, very, very close and claustrophobic with the other bot. Some people will drive drum spinners, and I know Zach drives like this, and Luke drives a little bit more like this, so they'll keep that distance for that line-up shot, and you get a lot more big pops and big hits out of that, and quite frankly, a lot more knockout shots. But I just kind of like to be really close and not really give them an inch to move. So that was my strategy going into this fight. So as far as configuration goes, Copperhead really doesn't have that many configurations since they are, I guess, a vertical weapon more than anything. We didn't have any reason to have the cross member up front. Doesn't really serve any purpose here, just adds, I think it's like 3 or 4 pounds, something like that. We went the heavier back plate, as always. That kind of gives us a little bit more downforce, and we ended up deciding to not do magnets again. The drive was fine for the last fight, and I am very much a firm believer of if it's not broke, don't fix it. Nothing was really broken in that previous fight. We could have maybe gotten a little bit more traction, a little bit better drive, but what we didn't want to have happen is have those magnets get us hung up on something. We really weren't sure if they were going to be flipping us over, if that was going to be an issue, and the magnets are just a bit of a liability. If we knocked off a piece of them, got hung up on them because of the magnets, that would be the end of the fight. So wanted to play it safe and not run with the magnets. So basically just the good old standard Copperhead configuration. We're still using the old chassis, the old drum. This is the same configuration that ran all last season, and we've used every single fight this season. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, keep the same configuration. So let's talk about the actual fight. I don't have a lot of clips and media to present in this, so I apologize me just sitting here talking to you for the whole video. But normally when the fights are on Discovery, I kind of have a written agreement with Discovery that I can use the footage for these things, but when it's on YouTube, it gets a little bit more murky, and I don't want to get any copyright strikes, so I'm not going to be using any of the footage from the YouTube fight. The fight itself was pretty self-explanatory. You can watch it. The strategy, as I said before, was just to stay as close as possible. You can kind of hear the drums cycle a little bit throughout the fight. We were basically keeping it relatively low speed in the beginning and then just ramping it up faster and faster and faster as the fight went on. And towards the end of the fight, maybe the last minute, you can actually start to hear it hum a little bit more. And that was probably about 80%. The reason that we did this is because Copperhead can gyro with the best of them. At the drum at 100%, even just a slight turn can make it stand perfectly up on its side. Copperhead is almost undrivable with the weapon at 100%. I mean, it's not undrivable, but it's really, really difficult to maneuver around. And since my driving style is a lot more kind of keeping close and maneuverability, Kim, my wife, kept the weapon a lot lower, so we didn't have those massive, massive hits, and you couldn't hear as much of that hum. But towards the end, we got a little bit more hum, and I was kind of getting a little bit more comfortable with the gyro, so we just kind of kept ratcheting it up as the fight went on, and so that's why you can see much bigger hits towards the end. And I think Chris and Kenny really hit the nail on the head with this fight. We were just trying to kind of whittle them down. The wheels on Lucky are very, very small. I mean, they're like that big. Well, they're like that big, but they're very small, and that means that any kind of disruption to them causes driving issues. And I'd say in the last 30 seconds, you can definitely tell that if we were just gonna go off into the corner, they most likely would have been crab walking. I think one whole side of that drive might have been fully compromised, but we just kind of kept on them and kept hitting them, and we took off, you know, some wheels, and we actually took off one of the wheel guards. This is actually, looks good. This is one of the wheel guards for Lucky. This isn't one of the front scoop things. They didn't have any of those, but this is one of the front side wheel guards on Lucky, and it is just really kind of mangled up, and it's actually really sharp. And I think this is, yeah, this looks like titanium. So yeah, really cool. Got that as a little trophy afterwards. But just kind of, you know, taking those off and ripping off the wheel guards and crushing in the wheels on the side, that's just kind of Copperhead special right there. And it worked out for us. So at this point in the season, we're feeling pretty good. We have 3 fights in, 3 wins, nothing really too decisive. You know, we have a lot of longer fights, but that's totally okay. The goal here is not to just kind of get a quick 30-second knockout. We want to test reliability, and honestly, in these fights, we really want to test out the drive. I was perfectly happy in going a full 3 minutes with Lucky just to see how the drive responded. Nothing's worse than 2 minutes in finding out that those issues start creeping up again. So knowing that 3 minutes into the fight, everything looked totally fine. The drive was, you know, as good as it's ever going to be on Copperhead. And I've kind of explained this in previous videos, just to the nature of how much force we're pressing into those front forks, the drum, the short front to back, I guess that's the wheelbase, and then the ultra wide of Copperhead. It's a really difficult to drive robot, and the drive is never going to be that precise or that responsive. It's always going to be, you know, a little bit of a mediocre drive just by the nature of the design of the bot. But we were feeling pretty good, and up until now, through 3 fights, I think the only damage that we had was when Lockjaw flipped up in the air, came down on top, and we had one of the teeth on the sprocket get chipped off, and then we broke the chain. And that's the only damage we've seen all season. So we're still using all the original components from the very first fight. So we're feeling pretty happy. There's been very little maintenance or repair on Copperhead. We've had to do very little other than just charge the battery. So that will be important going into our next fight against Witch Doctor. So be on the lookout for that. I think it's probably going to be like 2 episodes, 2 weeks or something like that. So be on the lookout for that. I'll have a fight recap after that one as well. And see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.